Hello everyone, it's James from Twisted Assisted here. With the release of our new UK legal slip joint collaboration with Bestech knives, the Twisted Junzi, I just thought it wise to do a video today just running over how to swap out the scales, because this is an eminently modifiable knife. So let's just take a new one out of the packet. As you can see, they come with G10, black G10 scales as standard, and I'm going to run through today how to swap out these black scales for any number of other ones that are available. And today we're going to be swapping them out for the carbon fiber version. In order to do this, you are going to need a Torx 6 and a Torx 8 bit. If you don't have these, then get some, because you won't be able to do it without it. So let's get straight in. Obviously, if you are seasoned at stripping knives and taking apart knives and swapping out scales, then it will probably be an egg-sucking experience for you. So this is mainly aimed at beginners. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is with the Torx 6, we're going to take off the pocket clip. That's the first job. As you can see in the background here, I've got a little mechanics dish, which is handy for keeping all of your screws and fixings that are steel safe, and so they don't bounce off all over the carpet. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to swap out to the Torx 8 and take off the pivot, or loosen it, should I say. Well, we'll take it out completely, like so. That can rest in the dish there. Then that leaves us with 4 screws to take out on both sides. And as you'll see in a minute, one of these screws is actually used to tension the back spring. So let's take these all out now. Use good quality Torx bits. One of the specifications that we asked of Bestech was that no thread sealant be used. So when you take apart your knife, you are not going to encounter much resistance, okay? But still go carefully. Okay, so that is the G10 scale off there. And you can see that we've got a steel liner here, which we will now remove. Okay, I'm just using the Torx 6 to push out the pivot. Let's get rid of this other Torx 6 screw here. Here we go. Okay, so that's all of the screws out. Let us start off by taking off the steel liner. There we are. And then what we're going to do here is, you can see the actual stop pin, which prevents the knife blade from over traveling and getting dings in. That's very important. Do not lose that. We're now going to take off the knife. As you can see, it's got ceramic bearings in there, which you can hopefully see. And that's the back spring. We're just going to put the back spring back there temporarily. Take off the other liner. Okay, and the other pivot, female part of the pivot is there. And then these G10 scales, we're just going to put to one side because we don't need them anymore. Okay, right, so we're going to reassemble this now. Here we go. As you can see, the carbon fiber scales fit perfectly on there. And then we're going to get our back spring. And then we're going to lay it over the steel liner there. And then we're just going to put a screw back in. It's the furthest screw next to the lanyard hole. Let's pop that in there just to secure the back spring. Okay, there we have it. We're also going to put back in the female part of the pivot. As you can see, there's a flattened edge at the bottom. See if the camera will focus on that, of the pivot. That wants to be facing down. So we'll just pop that through here. There we have it. Okay. Now we can take our knife blade. We're just going to put the ball bearings, ceramic ball bearings, back in there, into the recess. And then we're going to pop this onto the liner there. Okay. Now we need to actually tension the back spring now. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply a bit of downward pressure on the back spring, and that will give us the opportunity to get a screw, the second screw, which actually screws into the back spring. Okay, here we go. Be careful not to cross thread your screws. Here we go. And we're going to tighten that up, not too tight. And you can see now that the back spring is tensioned and it is sitting in the cutout on the blade. Give your pivot a push so that it's proud. And then at this stage, we might as well put in our other washer. Here we go. Onto the knife blade there. Now this is probably the most trickiest bit. What we're going to do is we need to, as you can see, the stop pin is there. That stop pin needs to go into this little hole here. And we're just going to orientate. It would be actually easier if I could take this out. Here we go. Just take the pin out. Right. So, as you can see, there's a cutout. If it focuses, here we are. Yeah, there's a cutout, a flattened part on the bottom of the pivot, and that fits in perfectly with the steel liner there. Okay, and then we're just going to orientate it until it perfectly matches with the end screw there. Now we're going to take it back off. Now that it's orientated, just going to ease it back off. There we are. And we're going to pop our stop pin into that tiny hole there, like so. Okay, and then it's just a case of reassembling, well, putting back on the steel liner, engaging with the pivot, the stop pin, and the end screw, which we've now done, and giving it a little press and making sure that it's all assembled there. Then all we do is take the other scale and it will fit perfectly on. Let's start off by putting back in, our end screw there with the Torx 6. Being careful not to cross thread. Just do that. Okay, and then our second screw up, which screws directly into the back spring here. There we go. Tighten that up, that's good. And then finally, we're going to put our pivot back on. And for the pivot, we're just going to need to swap out to the Torx 8, which is here. And we're going to tighten. Don't tighten it up tight, because you are going to want to close your knife, which you can feel the tension is on the blade. You just want to check for the blade centering. Okay, that needs to be tightened up a little bit more. So let's do that. Let's have a look. As you can see, blade's looking pretty centered. Fairly happy with that. And then the very last thing we do is there's a rebate up here for the pocket clip. And so hold it in place with your thumb into the rebate. Is a little bit tricky, this part. Then we want to get the small flat top recessed screws, place them on the end of our Torx tool, and then we can gently screw them into the liner like so. Let's get that last one in there. There we have it. And we're just going to give that a screw in. Don't over tighten these, just make sure they're all reasonably tight. And there we have it. We now have a set of carbon fibre scales on the Twisted Junzi UK legal slip joint. There we are. Thank you very much for watching. Have fun modifying your Junzi.